Boy. Should take the money, man. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm off the scene with a guitar. And they call me on the phone. They say, "Hey, man, what's your show about anyway?" I say, "Well, it's about an hour about guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic." So if you want to call me up on the phone, you ask me a question about the care and feeding of your guitar, what kind of guitar is right for you, how to play the guitar, or some related topic like the guitarra, sitar, lutes, uds, vihuelas, chitoles, banjos, balalaikas, bazookies, bajos, sextos, guitarrones, mandolins, mandoras, mandolas, mandocellos, banjolins, or banjoleles. Oh, there's one. Ukuleles, cuatros, cavaquinhos. Did I say that already? I don't even know, man. Trombones, trombamarinas, cellos, cimbale, harmoniums or harmonicas or harpsichords, or saxophones, sackbuts, crumhorns, cordholts, cornetos, cornets, trumpets. I don't know, man. Accordions or octarinas. Anything musical is fine. Timbales or timpanis. Politics, world events, your own personality problems, that's fine. Call us here if you want. But keep it clean. This is a family program.
So I brought the Google machine this week.
You brought the Google?
And we had discussed Epiphone before. Anyway, Epiphone is an old company. But Gibson bought them out in the 50s.
The 50s, yeah. That's right. Epi something or other. It's a Greek name.
Yeah.
Epipolis or something. A lot of Greek people have a Polis last name. But
oh,
you're going to look it up for us.
Yeah, I can tell you. Oh, I've already got it up here.
I'm playing an Epiphone. Basically a copy of a Gibson ES335.
Stathopolis was the family that started the Epiphone company. Yes.
Yeah. Epi was his nickname or something like that? Epi?
No, something. Epi's a Greek word for something.
Oh.
Epinephrine.
Epinephrine? Epiphone.
Those pens that people with severe allergies have to self-administer epinephrine are called EpiPens.
Really?
Yes.
This is an Epiphone. That's what they used to call somebody to administer it for them or something? Epiphone? I don't know. Well, Epiphone was around for a long time. They made a lot of really cool guitars. Gibson bought them and built them in their factory in Kalamazoo, as far as I remember. It's just going off the top of my head. I think I read a book about it like 30 years ago.
Also made banjos, fiddles, and lutes.
Banjos, fiddles, lutes?
That's what it says.
Wow, lutes.
company started in 1873.
Yeah, well, there was a resurgence of lute, like lutar. I have one actually from like 1903 hanging on my wall. They're like lutes, but they were strung like guitars, like in the late 19th, early 20th century. Huh. So he says, I know they made mandolins and things. But now the Epiphones are all made overseas. But actually, sometimes, you know, like used to be.
They're all made in China now.
They're all made in China? Yeah, this is made in China. Oh, huh, interesting. I tell you, the Chinese guitars used to be terrible, and all the Chinese instruments always had something wrong with them. I had a Chinese cello that my son was playing, and the neck, like, it just sort of imploded. It fell in on itself. I mean, everything was pretty good except for the way it was put together, which is sort of, you know, critical. I had a Chinese string bass, and the neck broke on it very easily. Broke very easily when I was just getting it out of the car. I guess that one of the tuners got stuck in the cup holder, and I just gave it a little gentle tug, and the neck broke on it. And but in the last few years, some of the Chinese stuff is actually really quite good. I really like this guitar. It's you know.
You were right. You were right. It is from the guy's name.
Yeah.
His name is. Let's see if I can find him again here. Epaminondas Stathopoulos.
Epaminondas, Epi. Yeah, Epi was his. They call him Epi for short, I think. Some Greek guy. Moved to Michigan or someplace in the 19th century, perhaps. Started building guitars, something like that. I don't know what the story. Bob's hot on the story of Epiphone. But,
Well, they were in Nashville, Tennessee for a while.
you said they were in Nashville for a while. Huh. Really?
Yeah.
Like when?
Well, I don't see a date for that right here. Moved to the USA in 1903.
Moved to the U.S. in 1903, he says.
Continued to make his original instruments as well as mandolins from Long Island City and Queens, New York.
I made him mandolins from Queens, Long Island City and Queens or whatever. Yeah. Huh. So he moved.
Made his first guitars in 1928.
Made his first guitars in 1928. So he's building lutes when it was still in Greece.
Yeah.
That would make sense. They probably weren't actually lutes. They were probably, what do they call those? Not bazookas. There's a. Oh man, I used to know. I can't remember right now. I did a whole bunch of research on it. I had somebody actually came to me from. I think she'd been to Greece or Turkey. That's the same instrument, but there's a little difference between the Greek and the Turkish ones. And of course, the Greeks and the Turks don't necessarily like each other for a lot of reasons.
I remember when they were having the war over Cyprus back, what was it, in the 50s or 60s?
Yeah. So they don't. They've been at it for a long, long time. Yeah. And the Ottoman Empire and the Greek. Anyway, but yeah. So what's it called? Well, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a lute. It's like a bouzouki type of thing, but it's another. Oh man, I almost had it.
Anyway, Epi died in 1943, and two of his sons took over, and then they sold out to Gibson in 1957, I think it was.
Okay, so that's when I became aware of them. They made them in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And they made the same guitars, but it was their cheaper line, basically. And then there were some things with the Epiphone that weren't Gibsons. And some of them are very well thought of, collector's items and stuff.
Yeah, they said a lot of them are copies of Gibsons.
Yeah, they were just like more Gibsons. But it's like, you had your Ford and you had your Mercury. Yeah. It was the same thing, but maybe one was like a cheaper version of the other one, and one's more. Yeah. The Buick was always a little fancier than the Chevy, Anyway.
Yeah. In the 70s, in the late 60s, I had a Nova, and in the 70s, I had a Ventura, which were the same car, except that a Nova was a Chevy and a Ventura was a Pontiac.
I see.
Matter of fact, they called them the Nova cars, Nova, Omega, Ventura, Apollo, which was, Apollo was the Buick.
Oh, I see. Huh.
Chevy, Pontiac, Olds, Buick.
Mm-hmm. Huh. And, they had to change the name for the Nova for the South American exports.
Because it means there's no go down there.
Nova. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like the Catalina or something like that, or something like that. But yeah. Well, this guitar, my boring story, I shouldn't really talk so much, but this little red Epiphone, it's an ES-335 copy, which is the one that B.B. King is famous for playing. It's what they call a semi-hollow body. So there's actually, a lot of it's hollow, but there's a big chunk of wood going through the top of it. and so it's a little heavier than like a true hollow body. So it's got that same that same kind of stability of that big chunk of wood, but it has these open places. So it's open here and it's like solid here, and like. But anyway, this one it's Chinese. It's an Epiphone is the import line for Gibson now. But my boring story is I was looking for a Fender Starcaster, which is also Chinese, by the way. It's a semi-hollow body Fender, kind of an unusual thing. It's a reissue of a late 70s, maybe early 80s Fender hollow body. It was their attempt to compete with this guitar, actually, the Gibson. And so I wanted one of those. I saw pictures of them and everything, and I went to the Guitar Center in Cedar Rapids. I played one time, but it was out of my price range. So anyway, I was in Cedar Rapids. I was actually judging a music competition I was one of the judges at Kirkwood Community College there in their auditorium, or their music wing anyway. And so I was there anyway, and I had a little extra time before my gig in the late afternoon. And so I went up to and also I was I'd gone to the doctor, told me, all these, I had a list of things wrong with me, and I had to
See what condition your condition was in?
Yeah, it wasn't that great a condition, so necessarily. I felt fine when I went, but he told me all these bad things. Then they gave me all these medications. And actually, my doctor promptly went on vacation, my new doctor, because I got that Obamacare, which I don't care what anybody says, it's great. But then so I got this other doctor, and she didn't have the same kind of bedside manner or whatever. She told me that if I didn't take these things, I was going to have all these terrible, terrible things are going to happen to me, within months if I didn't, do all these things. So, they gave me all these pills, and I'm not, I'm a jazz guitar player sometimes, but I'm not good with drugs. It's hard to believe, but, which reminds me of Dave Brubeck. I was reading about him, and listening to his stuff, which is another story, but he's like a jazz musician who didn't drink and do drugs. He lived to be 92, and he recorded like an astronomical number of albums. But anyway, so I was in kind of a bad mood, and I had some money in my pocket, and like in excess of $300 that I kind of saved up from playing my gigs on the weekends, the leftover money I had, that I didn't put into the household fund, and I thought maybe I could make a down payment on that Fender guitar that I was looking at, and then maybe have it layaway. Maybe I'll think about it, or maybe I can make a deal. Maybe I could take like a couple of guitars, maybe a bass I don't want to play anymore, and trade them in, make a deal. And so I decided to go up there and look at it again, and they sold it. It was gone. But while I was there, I saw this, which was not what my plan was. Although I'd always wanted a 335, but I wanted a real one, Yeah. And I picked the thing up, and the strings were not the sort I would like, and it had a couple problems, but I really liked it instantly. Yeah. So in about a 2-minute decision. I stood in line. I bought the thing. I went out to my car and got a blanket because I didn't want to buy a case, and I wrapped it up in the blanket because it was, it was
Cold
in the winter.
out?
What?
Cold out?
Yeah, it was cold out. Yeah, I didn't want it to, crack. And so I took it home, feeling a little guilty, that remorse you get, when you buy a guitar. Maybe you never had that, but.
No, I can't say that I have. I don't believe I've ever bought a guitar.
Oh, okay. Well, I bought a few. So it was like $299.99 or something. So I had like enough money for the guitar, the sales tax, and maybe a sandwich. And I had a job that night to make more money. So I bought the thing, and I finally, a few weeks ago, I bought a case for it. Finally, so it has its own ES335 case. And then I took it to the repair guy, Dusty Bush. As an aside, I knew a guy named DeWind. I thought if his first name had been Dustin, he would be Dustin DeWind.
Yeah.
But never mind. So I took it to.
All we are is dust in the wind.
Yeah, that's all he was. But it wasn't Dustin. It was like Steve or something. Anyway, never mind. So I got it back today, and the guy who repaired it, who has been through a lot of guitars and fixed a lot of guitars, said he really liked it too. I mean, it's actually a really sweet. ES335 wannabe, and it's not really a 335, but it's really well. It's Chinese, but it's nice. I mean, it gives you my 335 thrill. I've since picked up an Ibanez 335 wannabe, which I don't like as much, but maybe I'll learn how to.
Who makes that?
Ibanez. It's a Japanese company, but it's probably made in China. Ibanez. There's a couple of Japanese companies who like in the late 60s or whatever, they were Ibanez and Alvarez. That they would do is they would try to take over the like the market of slightly less expensive guitars or something. They have a Spanish name, I think, because you know, people Americans like to buy guitars with Spanish names because we've had a love affair with Spanish guitars since like 1842 when Spanish Fandango was a great big hit.
Yeah.
I went to like a 2-hour lecture about that one song once. I'm an expert now on Spanish Fandango. It was written in Youngstown, Ohio, and doesn't sound anything like Spanish music, but it influenced generations of guitar players. A lot of the blues players were influenced by it. It's in an open G tuning. Yeah. It's a long story, as you can tell. But so what we would call Spanish guitar was a guitar suitable for playing Spanish Fandango. There were other guitars with different numbers of strings, for like 4 and 5 string guitars and other things. But what you would call a guitar for playing Spanish Fandango was a 6-string guitar. And then they would do this, what they call Spanish tuning, which is open G, which is not a tuning that was used in Spain. As I've never heard of it being used in Spain. Somebody probably does it. Somebody who's playing American guitar style, but you tune the guitar to an open G chord, which is similar to the way a bluegrass banjo is tuned. And so it's called Spanish Fandango. It's a great big hit. At the time when pulp paper came out and people could follow the music at home, they could, down on the farm you get a guitar and you get Spanish Fandango was published in the magazine, which was made out of cheap paper you could afford. And, so they changed the way they made paper or something like that. So publishing and manufactured guitars hit the scene in the 1840s. And so Spanish Fandango was a hit. Everybody had to play Spanish. It was like Stairway to Heaven of its time. So anyway, why am I saying, I got off on a tangent, man, I'm sorry, but Spanish
The
guitar.
kind of a guitar that was made to play Spanish Fandango.
Yeah, so Spanish guitar has been a big thing in the U.S. since 1842. And so Alvarez and Ibanez are two companies. Alvarez has been known more to make like steel string and classical guitars, and Ibanez makes everything, but their claim to fame was copying Gibsons mostly, and Fenders. Yeah. And they actually got sued because they made exact copies of Fenders and Gibsons. Actually, I think Gibson sued them big time.
As long as they don't put Fender or Gibson's name on it.
Yeah, well, there was some sort of copyright patent infringement lawsuit, some big lawsuit. And I actually played a guitar the other day, which was like an ES-175, I think. It was like a jazz guitar. But it was from the 70s, and it was a pre-lawsuit one. So it was like an exact duplicate of the Gibson, but at a fraction of the price. And this one was like kind of beat up, and it was $1,200 for this.
Well, must have been some patented feature on the Gibson.
I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. I'm certainly not a patent lawyer.
Yeah.
But, anyway. But this one is a Gibson. It's licensed to Gibson. So it's a Gibson wannabe. I'm just a little embarrassed playing an Epiphone because my guitar should say Gibson on it. I have a couple guitars that say Gibson on it, but... And I will say that when I used to have a guitar shop, a long time ago, I had a used Gibson ES-335 and a used Ibanez copy of an exact copy of it. And it was built a very good year for Ibanez, and there was a very bad year for Gibson. And the Ibanez was a better guitar. Yeah, you have to be kind of patriotic sometimes. And yeah, I know people who consider themselves patriotic because they wave flags periodically, but all the things they buy are from other countries. They drive foreign cars, and, and they have no faith in American workers.
Like
or
the
American
Oak Ridge
government.
boys say, got a Nikon camera, Sony color TV.
Yeah. Well, there was a joke. There's a thing about somebody saying about an English person. Say an Englishman will drive his German car to an Irish pub to have an Indian curry, and they'll drive to the Irish bar to have a Belgian beer. On the way home, they'll pick up an Indian curry to go watch American programs on their Japanese TV. See, that was the life of an Englishman. So.
Which is not that much different than the life of an American.
That's right. Well, we watch English We'll watch English programs on our Chinese TV. But, yeah. So, yeah, that's how it goes.
And go to a Mexican restaurant.
That's right.
And drink Belgian beer since they own Budweiser these days.
What do they? Well, my Dodge Chrysler was bought out by Fiat, apparently. And although my car was actually built in Illinois and has like 70% or more North American parts, U.S. and Canada parts, it was bought by Fiat, and the platform is based on Maserati, on a Maserati. So I don't know who bought Maserati, but
I think Fiat owns Maserati.
yeah, that's probably why they have it.
I think Fiat owns all the Italian car companies now.
Yeah. Oh well. I guess it's a small world after all. So I'm playing a Chinese guitar.
You played it before we came on the air. Play it again, Tom.
I'll do my best.
Tell us about your upcoming in-person appearances.
Well, nothing special this week, just the usual. I'm playing at the Tuscan Moon,
That's in downtown Kelowna.
downtown, beautiful downtown Kelowna, right next to the bakery. And I'll be there on Friday and Saturday night. And if the weather holds out, I'll be outdoors in the patio, which is quite lovely. It should be a cool weekend.
That's
And,
a couple of miles east of 218 off exit 80.
Yeah, exit 80. Yeah, I didn't know the number of the exit. You show up for Riverside instead of going to the casino, which is on the left.
Turn right.
Turn right. Go through the metropolis of Riverside itself, and about 7 miles down the road past that is Kelowna. And if you go to Wellman, you've gone too far. But yeah, I'll be there. Supposed to start at 6, so I'll probably start around 6:30, maybe a little bit later, and I'll play till 10. I'd recommend getting a reservation though, because it's been pretty busy. This is the season when it's really busy. They run about late February, March. The owners are thinking about retiring or selling out or something like that, I think. But then this time of year, it's like business is booming. And so anyway, Friday, Saturday night, I'll be at the Journey Church again. I haven't gotten fired yet. On Sunday, they're in Coralville. Services start about 10:30. And I think I've been doing the music for them. It seems to give them all a spiritual experience, so I help them out with that. Sometime in the beginning of September, Tuscan Moon is going to have they're going to have a car show. So they're going to block off the street and have classic shiny cars, and they're going to have a DJ doing greatest hits of the 50s and 60s. And they'll be like old people, even older than me, dancing in the streets.
My generation.
Yeah, your generation, dancing in the streets. And so I won't be there. And then the Journey Church is going to have some like a cappella group that are going to go and they're going to teach like some sort of spirituality through singing a cappella. So I guess they won't need me because I'm an accompanist kind of guy. I've done a lot of accompanying. So I'm going to have that weekend off, or Saturday and Sunday. I guess I'll be playing Friday night, but I'm thinking about going to Oklahoma. Doing something wild down there. So I have a few days off, I also have, I did that show a couple weeks ago downtown by the fountain, which wasn't turned on, unfortunately, but the downtown in front of the Sheraton Hotel, there's the stage, So I did a show, and then Sarah, and one of our interns recorded it for video, for posterity. So I'm thinking, I could take 1 week, I could move a few lessons around from the Sunday and Monday lessons.
Yeah.
I could leave on Saturday, and I could go to Oklahoma. I could do some things there, some wild and crazy things I've been thinking about. I could come back, like Wednesday even. I could come back late Tuesday night or something. It's an 8-hour drive.
So 1 week in September, Tom's Guitar Show will be your concert on the Ped Mall.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I haven't made plans for this. I could just stay home, and stare at the wall for a few days, because Saturday and Sunday, where I normally have a gig, I will not. I could also try to book those gigs, somewhere else. Occasionally Unitarians will call me up and I play for them. They give you $100, man. Yeah. So I could also try to play some other place. There have been places that asked me if I'd play there, and I said, well, I got a gig at the Tuscan Moon. You have to give me a lot of money to not play at Tuscan Moon. So, anyway.
Or do it on a weeknight.
Yeah. But people don't want me on a Wednesday or Thursday. So they want me Friday and Saturday. But anyway, so.
I don't know, so all these Iowa City bars have Thursday night specials. You ought to see if one of them needs a guitar picker on a Thursday.
It's an interesting idea. I used to do these gigs on Thursdays in places where they had rock bands on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
But they had the Thursday thing. So they have some sort of special going on, and they had that one guy with a guitar doing the music. That was back. I used to do 4 sets. I would sing and play guitar for 4 hours, basically. It's hard work.
There used to be a bar in Solon called the Zoo.
Yeah.
That used to run unseemly promotions on Thursday nights.
Really?
You'd see buses come up from the university.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, they had, bar stool races and wet T-shirt contests.
Ah.
And we'd always have a cop or two in town that night. That Solon doesn't have their own cops; they rent time from the sheriff, and
I see.
so he'd get some of his hours in on Thursday night,
I
watching the
suppose.
zoo.
I suppose they'd probably need him, yeah. Huh. I guess I missed out on that. Barstool races, I mean, they motorize them and stuff like that? Or
I was never in there
Oh,
for
yeah.
it, but I'd see their promotions, and
I never went to that, yeah.
they'd advertise them.
I see.
I had something I did in Cedar Rapids on Thursday nights in those days, so I'd be coming back through town on the way to the house, and see the crowd there at the zoo, and like I say, they always had, billboards up and advertisement in the paper, whatever their promotion was that week.
Yeah, huh. Well, Barstool races sounds kind of interesting, but I don't know if I'd really want to go to a wet T-shirt contest, but I try to be broad-minded, but it's not really my scene, you know what I'm saying?
Probably not our demographic.
Probably not, no.
Yeah, it's more aimed at the 20-year-olds.
But they're not supposed to drink yet.
Okay, 21-year-olds.
I see, yeah. The 19-year-olds with fake IDs,
Yeah.
or 18-year-olds. Yeah, that's well, the whole bar entertainment thing is kind of interesting. I don't really fit. I did a lot of it. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
1,000 gigs maybe. I don't know. I used to regularly play 3 nights a week. These different places, and I would. Some of them be like little dive bars where I'd sit up in front of the jukebox. And I remember one time a guy went behind me and put a quarter in the jukebox. Back when I was a quarter or whatever like that, while I was playing, and they hadn't unplugged it or turned it off. But anyway, they used to do all those things. But see, the thing, if you do that job well, you should be like the center of attention in a bar, and you should lead people to drink. Because when I got fired at the yacht club, which is still in operation, but early in the years of the yacht club, I was still in that bar gig thing, and I played there, and I had a pretty successful evening. I think it was $2 at the door to hear me. And I had a friend who was getting married in California in a redwood grove. And this is not long after, that was like 1985, I had my 10-string classical guitar built, so it wasn't long after that, it was in that era. So that was kind of later in my barroom career, toward the end of it. And maybe this is one of the things that kind of got me out of it, but the guy, so I played there, and a lot of people showed up. And I was able to come up with enough money to buy an Amtrak ticket and have some money in my pocket, $2 at a time. So a lot of people showed up, more than 100, maybe 150, 200 people showed up. So I got, if I had $400, it was like $2 a piece for 200 people. So, but the thing was, one of the bartenders didn't like me for a variety of reasons. I think he thought a lot of things about me he didn't were true. Like I'm not gay, for instance. I mean, there's nothing against gay people. I regularly associate with gay people, but I'm personally, I like other men, just not that way. You know what I'm saying? But I speak some French, so that makes me suspicious. Right there, that'd be gay. But of course, a lot of people in France speak French, and most of them aren't gay. So anyway,
And in Quebec.
in Quebec too, yeah, and. But other things about me, he didn't like me, and he said that, and the one thing that he and the owner, actually the owner, not the bartender who was working that night, because the owner wasn't there, but the guy who was the lead bartender, and he told the owner that I just attracted a bunch of water drinkers. And the owner and this other bar owner from another bar downtown, they hated water drinkers. People would go in and listen to the entertainment and stuff like that, but they drink water because you're there to sell lots of beer. So the guy who fired me, he said that I was the kind of guy, I play the kind of music that would make people want to go home and talk to their wife. And that's not what they wanted. They want people to stay there and drink. And that was the economics of it. And I was thinking at the time it was hydraulics, because I had a student who was from India, but he was here to study hydraulics at the university. And all about hydraulics. And I started saying, hydraulics, that's into the study of water, the flow of fluids and liquids. And well, the idea is liquids, is beer. One guy, in a bar I played at told me that it cost him about 7 cents to pour a beer, and he was selling for 75 cents, for that glass. So that was the economics that was always going on. Right. So it's like hydraulics, it's value added, and then of course it takes money to make money, so you have entertaining bartenders and maybe pretty waitresses, you know, and stuff like that. And then maybe you have some poor guy with a guitar up there trying to influence people to stay and drink more. So maybe you only went out for, we're going to have a couple beers in a burger basket, but you stayed, and you had, like, you know, 12 beers instead of 2 beers. And you had, you know, so they had the burger basket, but you had something else, some other greasy, you know, thing
Right.
you wouldn't have eaten normally later.
Bar food.
Bar food, you see. And then, so, you know, and some people stay all night, you know, and they have to get up early in the morning. I see these people who had to get up in the morning to go to work, stuff like that. So I don't, you know, I just don't do that work. And I guess I don't know if I'm qualified to play in a bar.
These Iowa City bars, I've been watching classic television, Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the special guest villain the other day was Catwoman, Julie Newmar.
Oh, yeah.
And Leslie Gore
Yeah.
was her apprentice. And Leslie Gore said, I don't want to be a master criminal. I want to be a rock and roll star. And Catwoman said, how old are you? And she said, 20. She said, you're over the hill for that.
Uh-huh. That's right. Well, the other thing is youth.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was doing it, when I was getting kind of long in the tooth, I was like 27, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who was just like 21, maybe. And he was doing really well in the bars. He didn't really play or sing very well, but he had some sort of social skills. And there was something about him that people wanted to you know, he was embraced by his public, and I was like a much more like maybe learned guitar player, with all classical stuff that I've been doing and everything like that. But this guy was just, you know, strumming really hard and singing and like that. But they liked him a lot. He had what they wanted. You know, he would sing songs that they wanted, and maybe I sang a few of the songs they wanted, but a lot of other ones too.
Yep.
So I was wondering, how's this guy doing so well? Because I used to rent PA equipment to him so he could play in these bars. And so I don't know. I mean, I like to think that he, well, I don't want to,
Playing music for 20-year-olds.
yeah. But what happens when he turns 27 or 30,
Have to find someplace else to play.
I suppose?
Go to the Tuscan Moon.
Well, that's right. He can work on Tom's Guitar Show. It's a program for old men. But,
Of course, you can't live on the salary here.
yeah, that's right. I'll double your salary and double it again. So
And I'll still be making as much as you.
that's right. Makes a pretty good jazz guitar. Sorry. Sorry about that.
That's that famous Chinese song, Tu Ning.
That's right. Well, I had a T-shirt my mother gave to me once that said "Tune it or die" on it. I didn't wear it. I was use it for pajamas, you know. Can't.
Difference between a guitar and a fish. You can tune a guitar, but you can't tune a fish.
That's right. See, it's actually considered improper to tune your guitar kind of out loud. You know, you should do it very quietly. You see people who retune their guitar during a concert, it's very, very quiet. And me, I just bam, 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 and I just, you know, but I'm not very proper fellow, I'm afraid. Well, I got this hankering for jazz guitars right now. This one seems to do a pretty good job of it somehow.
And it looks good too.
It's a nice looking guitar. Yeah. I have a lot of nice guitars, actually. I have you know I'm waiting for a guitar. I had this kind of, people call it wild hair. That doesn't sound very good, does it? It's wild hair. This is it a wild rabbit or is it a strangely growing hair? Never mind. I had this inspiration that I.
That's a tried and true phrase, though I think you're safe using it.
I'm safe using it? Okay. Yeah. Well, I had this inspiration to get a DBZ Maverick, the blue one, because the guy in the guitar shop knows my issues. He was going to order some DBZs, and he showed me a picture of it. And I was familiar with the sort of pickups it would have. And I have a DBZ collection. It's Dean B. Zielinski's company, although I think he lost it. He had Dean, but he no longer has Dean, so he had DBZ. And then now he doesn't have that anymore. And now he has Dean Zielinski Select or something like that. Boutique guitar. But basically it's fashioned on it's the shape of a Telecaster. But it has a sort of contoured top. It has spalted wood through the top, so it's a natural wood color, but it's kind of this kind of rot in it, so it's all very figured wood. And then the straight through the middle, and the other parts of it are stained, are blue, kind of a shiny blue, and you can see the wood grain through it. As I say, the top is kind of carved out, is kind of contoured. And it has two humbucker pickups, not that different from these pickups, but they should be very high quality. And the whole thing is alive, apparently, from what I've heard. I've never seen one, but I have other DBZs, and I have one that's sort of would have a lot in common with it that I've had in the show a couple times. But so basically I buy stuff from this guy, at the pro shop, musician's pro shop, but he has this thing where you can rent to own. Yeah. But what that may mean is if you can make payments on it, you can take 90 days to pay for it with no interest on it. So I pay things off. But anyway, I was expecting this guitar to come in the spring, maybe May, and it didn't. Other DBZs arrived, but this one did not. They ran out of them. They're building more. Supposed to be here at the end of July or the beginning of August, I was told. And he was told. He told me, but that's what they told him. And so I'm actually running a surplus there. I have a positive balance at the guitar shop. So I suppose I could take another guitar home. A cheaper one right now. If there's one I really wanted, but there isn't. I want that DBZ. But anyway. But things enter a fellow's mind when you have a surplus. It's like I have
like cash burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah. But this is kind of a negative thing. And every week I give them a little bit more. So we're getting up there in the hundreds of dollars. Several $100s. And so I'm thinking about if it never comes in, there's one Godin Montreal. I have this Fifth Avenue. I brought it in the show a couple times, which is their least expensive one of this hollow body electric guitar that they make. They make them out of cherry wood, which is an easily renewable resource in Canada. They plant them; they grow fairly fast. They're good tone wood, and then so I have the least expensive of them. But the most expensive of them, the Montreal, is looking. I look at pictures of them and I hear about them, but they're over $1,000. You see, so I would.
I saw a thing on the internet here not too long ago. That the guitar that Jimi Hendrix set on fire went at auction for almost $500,000.
Yeah. Well, he set a lot of guitars on fire though, and one Dweezil Zappa has it because Jimi Hendrix gave this burned up guitar to Frank Zappa. Who fixed it up and played it, and then when he died, he left it to his son Dweezil, who has since done more fixing up.
If there are a lot of them, you wonder what would make somebody give that much money for one of them.
Well, he burned up a few guitars. I know. I think he did. That was a common thing for him to do at certain shows. And I don't know. Dweezil has one. Maybe that's the one he sold. But maybe if it was one with a.
Or, of course, what we call a lot, that might be a dozen.
Yeah. Well, if it's $500,000.
Yeah. There can't be thousands of them if they're getting that kind of money for one.
No. It might be one that he burned up at a specific location.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, but the thing is that he had this one, if you look at the videos of him, you'll see him playing a white Stratocaster, which is very nice. But it has a smaller headstock, because Leo Fender sold his company in like 64 or 65, and people favor the ones that were built before CBS took over the company in the mid-60s. One thing CBS did was they had 3 bolts in the neck instead of 4, which Fender had.
Yeah.
And then they had the headstock which sticks out kind of this, and a Fender, it stuck out more. It's bigger headstock. So you could recognize one very easily by the size of the headstock. Because, I mean, just like, there's a Fender that sticks out, right?
Right.
So you'd see these videos of Jimi Hendrix playing this show on a white Stratocaster with that smaller pre-CBS headstock. But you see him like bashing the amplifiers with it, setting it on fire and stuff, and you notice that headstock grew.
So it was one of the cheaper ones that he was beating up.
Yeah, well, the post-CBS, they're still, but the people didn't favor them as much, and people did bash up guitars and stuff in those days, but they were guitars they didn't like very much. Yeah. They didn't really bust up really good ones. One guy was telling me that he talked to somebody who was in a band, they smashed up these guitars, but they were junk, the ones he was smashing. So we have smashed guitars. We have run over them with a van and shot them with 12 gauges on this show before. We've had video clips. And there's a clip we've never used, and I'm out in the country, I lean this guitar up against a shed, take a great big pickaxe, and right through the top of it, and there's like a 2-second clip where there's more, but to trim it up to like 2 seconds of me just going like that. And what I wanted to do is, if I do an instructional video, say, I teach fingerstyle guitar, but you can use a pick. Yeah. With a great big pickaxe, which I have in the basement, kind of rusty, And but that was not that was a guitar with.
Well, you took a shotgun to one time too, didn't you?
We more than once. We blasted 3 guitars. We had 2. One was Josh's that he inherited through various means here, and one was one that I had. Neither one of them were ever going to play properly again. They had neck issues that weren't fixable, really. So we took them out in the country, and I have a pheasant gun. I have a 12 gauge. I've never actually shot a pheasant. I've had this thing for really long. I mean, I bought it at Kmart when I was 18 for $50. It's a Harrington Richardson single shot 12 gauge, very lightweight, which means when you fire it, it kicks like a mule. Because see, if it's heavier, it doesn't get that inertia. The heavy inertia, it slows it down. So, bam, like that. So we went out with a fellow named Seth, who was the intern of the year. He graduated from high school, was going to go off to college. So Josh and Seth and I went out to the country and blasted.
Seth is the guy that used to be our roving cam guy, isn't he?
Yeah. Fine young fellow, but he went off to college. Probably a communications major. I hope it didn't break his heart. But so we shot 2 guitars that time, and then years ago I shot another guitar in a cornfield. Same gun. I only have but the one shotgun. It's
well, I have a shotgun. Next time the urge strikes you, maybe we'll have to have dueling shotguns.
Yeah, well, we sold the farm, so I have to go someplace. There's a shooting range north of town somewhere.
Is there?
Up by somewhere in the vicinity of Lake McBride or the Coralville Lake, up there somewhere. Somewhere off 965, I think.
I don't know. I've heard there's one over toward West Liberty, but West Branch, somewhere over east of here. But
well, but also be shooting. Some people will be shooting like man targets, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I know the cops go off to one somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
I know they were trying to get their own here a while back.
Yeah, well, I hope they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I hope the police know what they're doing with their guns.
Yeah.
Occasionally, they shoot the wrong person.
Yeah.
It happens. There's this fellow got killed out east in a chokehold and he died.
Yeah, that's on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen it. And I just read in a New York newspaper article about the investigation stuff, but how the cops usually don't get in trouble for that. And there was one where they're going back to this one guy who was, I think, was an immigrant from Africa who was shot with like 41 bullets, killed him because of,
Oh yeah, that's the one Springsteen wrote a song about in New York City.
yeah, in a doorway, but he didn't have a gun after all. He didn't do anything.
He pulled his wallet out,
Huh.
and one of the cops said he thought it was a gun. And as soon as one cop shot, they all shot.
Yeah.
Or down in Ames a few years back, a couple of Iowa State jocks tried to hold up, I think it was a Burger King, some fast food place. And one of the employees snuck out through the drive-up window and called the cops. Anyway, they came and fired like 41 shots. Well, that's the same number, but it was over 40 shots, and 2 of them hit the guys they were shooting at, which means that some well in excess of 30 shots hit something other than what they were shooting at.
Ah. This guy, I think Eric Shaw, I think was his name. I knew him. I bought a futon
Oh,
from him.
the artist that got shot downtown in his studio.
Yeah, or actually, his father's.
Well, he used part of it as a studio.
Oh yeah. He also helped his father with his vending machine business,
Yeah.
and he had worked at the futon shop, which is right next to where I had a guitar shop.
Oh, over here
And I
on
bought a
Gilbert.
futon from him once. I knew him. I talked to him a couple times, a few times. He's a nice guy. But he,
They caught him talking on the phone and shot him.
yeah, he was on the phone, and policeman saw the door was open for like ventilation.
Yeah.
He was talking to his friend because he broke up with his girlfriend, so he was talking to his friend on the phone about it, bearing his soul. And cop saw him and walked in the door, open door with his gun, and saw him holding a phone, and bam, one shot through the heart.
Yeah.
And that was it for him. So the cop said, "I guess I flinched." I guess he did. This happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess I could get shot. I mean, because cop approaches me, I pull out my wallet, or I've got the guitar case. Maybe they think it's. I suppose if you want to carry guns illegally, a guitar case would be a pretty good idea, wouldn't it? I mean,
Well, yeah, they used to say the Chicago mobsters carried their machine guns in violin cases.
that's right. I've seen. There's a picture of a Tommy gun and folded up in a violin case. I've seen. Yeah, I guess you gotta watch out. I try not to bother the police, and they don't really bother me, but I bear them no ill will, but they have.
Or there was one U.S. Marshal shot a kid that had I think it's a Three Musketeers candy bar in his hand. That's the one with the shiny foil wrapper.
Because there's a kid who got shot by the neighborhood watch wannabe
Oh, yeah.
Zimmerman in Florida. He had Skittles and iced tea on
Yeah.
this person. Anyway, maybe we shouldn't shoot guitars. I don't know.
Well, the guitar is defenseless.
That's right. Anyway, I'll be back next week. I always come back, but maybe in September I'll take a week off. Go to Oklahoma for the fun of it. It's only an 8-hour drive. It's not that far.
No, when I go west, I go through Oklahoma City every year.
I think I've been through Oklahoma one time.